Assalamu alaikum. Sulman Rahim here. Mention of covenant, break of the seven seals. Brothers and sisters, the Holocaust, lest we forget, there's a concerted effort to get us to forget. Forget the Holocaust. The Holocaust. They want us to think it was anything but what it was, what it is. Anything but that. Slavery. No, it wasn't slavery. Slavery was an aspect of it, the economic side, which was a minimal aspect at that, at best. It was the economic side. That's slavery. But they went beyond slavery. Look up the definition of slavery. Does it include anything you see in those pictures there? Does it include hanging, castration, torture, murder, rape, sodomization? Does it include any of that in that description? The Abrahamic covenant speaks to that. It says that we would be enslaved and afflicted and persecuted. So if that was included in slavery, they wouldn't have to add that word. They would just say they would be enslaved and all other things would be assumed. But no, because there was slavery all around the world. There's still slavery all around the world. There's still slavery in America. Because we're still enslaved here. We're still here. They dragged us here. We didn't ask to be here. We're punished for not doing what they tell us to do. They act like they want us to act. But we're still slaves here. The Holocaust. I'm going to play a brief clip here. I'm talking about this critical race theory. It's not theory, what they did to us. It's not theoretical. I'm not calling the Holocaust theory. No, it's not theory. It's a fact. They're trying to minimize it, trying to get you to think it's other than what it is. They're writing books saying we came over here as immigrants. And we were so wicked and so criminal that they had to put us in chains. We brought that upon ourselves. That's them. So watch this brief clip here. Well, I guess you can't hear it. Guess you're not going to be able to hear it, brothers and sisters. Have to work on that. How can I get you to hear it? How can I get you to hear it? Let me try something, brothers and sisters. See if this will work. Let me take it back. I'm not sure if you can hear this, brothers and sisters. I'm going to try to see if that's possible. Try something here. I'm not sure if you can hear this, but you can read the right, the wording. I'm going to stop here, brothers and sisters. Hold on a second. Now, this liar, Tucker, Carlson, he's one of the biggest liars on the planet. Now, I don't know if you can hear that or read the, the lines there. What he's saying is that Christianity is the greatest force for human rights in human history. Christianity is the reason why we don't have slavery anymore. Christianity is the reason why we have human rights. Now, I'm just going to stop it there because if that didn't floor you, then you're either deaf, you're an idiot, you're a demon, a devil, or just plain stupid. Because everything he says is a whole lot. Christianity is what enslaved us. Christianity is what freed us. No. It was Christians that did it. Yeah, it was Christians that did all the stuff they did here. The Christians came and enslaved the world. They terrorized the world. The Europeans, they were under the flag of Christianity, under the cross. They did all they did. They went out, kill, steal, and destroy, all under the banner of the cross. All under the banner of the cross. And this fool going to tell you just the opposite. It was if Christianity freed us, then who enslaved us? How did we get over here? Who did that? See? And that's a lie in itself. Who is persecuting us for 40 years? Is that Christians that doing on the cross? And the lie about the civil war because of slavery, it was because of slavery. Labor is the economic part of it. Because the North didn't want to compete with slave labor in the South. That's the bottom line. Understand, brothers and sisters? So that's Chris Tucker. Chris Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson, whatever his name is. So if you look at this Monday night thing, you'll see him talk about it. It's the first 8 minutes. It's sad. But they're saying that kind of stuff because they're trying to make you forget about the Holocaust, trying to act like it doesn't even exist. That's my critical race theory. They don't want their children to be told what they did. So they're such good, great, loving, superior people. Why don't you want people to know your history? Why? Why don't you want people to know your history? Let's move on, brothers and sisters. Okay. So we're going to talk about time's up. Time's up. Time's up, brothers and sisters. They've run out of time. 2020 was the beginning of the apocalypse. 2020. 1619, 2019 will be our time of internment, time of persecution, time of Holocaust, time of slavery. And then 2020 will begin with the first of 10 plagues. Plague that would kill the firstborn, pass over us. Just needed check with the World Health Organization, and they say that Africa, Black Africa, Haiti, and places where Black folks live and rule, right? Not affected by the virus. They would tell us lies and we would drop like flies. They don't ever talk about that anymore, do they? Because it was a lie. That began the apocalypse. But it takes a very kinetic form, a point form, very profound form, right? Where Master Muhammad goes into action. the war in heaven. See, they talk about the dragon and the beast and all that, and they're here on earth. But then they say this war is going to take place in heaven. So if it's why would we know about it if it's taking place in heaven? Why would we know about it if it's taking place in heaven? I'm getting a little silent. It should be, brothers and sisters. If I can mitigate it somehow. If that work. So it's, Michael's angels go to war with the dragon's angels, but dragons appear on earth. See? So I tell you, it's not way out there in the seventh dimension, not out there around the sun, moon, and stars. It's right here on earth. The war in heaven means the war in the Middle East. That's going to take place anytime now. That's what we're going to talk about in this presentation. It's going to take place anytime now. It could take place today or tomorrow. But I'm confident it will take place in the next couple of months. And that's going to officially kick off apocalypse. You got Ryan Farrakhan trying to tell you the two witnesses are Elijah and Farrakhan. If you read chapter 11, you quickly realize that's bullshit. We're going to talk about that, brothers and sisters. We're going to talk about this timeline. We're going to try to make it very clear. As I said, we get closer and closer to that time. I'm going to make it clearer and clearer and clearer. So let me walk through this and hopefully you'll understand. Okay. Apocalypse, time's up. The time has run out. The 600-year rule, mission and shed blood, and 600 years of unjust rule, 6,000 years of oppression, particularly us, 600 years of oppression, murder, rape, persecution. It's over. Now it's judgment. Now you can take your time to read this, brothers and sisters. I'm not going to tend to read it because this is from another presentation, but it's still useful to read it. Right? So hold on a second here. Because it's about the sequence of the seven seals found in Revelation is called the AL-INJIL. So it's like, because they don't go in the sequence that they say, one seal, second seal, third seal. No, it doesn't go in that sequence. That's part of the coding. Because you have to break the seal. That's part of the seal itself, the way it's presented. So I'm trying to put it in the proper sequence for you. Okay, so here we go. Now the war with Iran, that starts the war in the Middle East, in heaven. Michael's angels go against the dragon and his angels. Now, question is, who is Michael? The only one I hear talk about Michael is witnesses. And they think Michael is Christ. They say Michael is Jesus, which is incorrect. But you don't hear Farrakhan talking about it at all. He don't know. He has no idea. But we're told that Michael is going to be the one to deliver us. But then Mr. Farrakhan, what about that one? Say we're not going anywhere. And you say it's the time of unprecedented trouble. Well, it said we'd be delivered. So if we're not going anywhere, then why is Michael delivering us? Delivering us to where? Where's he delivering us to if we're not going anywhere? All that crap they talk about falls apart when you ask questions. That's why I never give a Q&A. Elijah Muhammad used to always give a Q&A. I know I was there. I was the feet of him on security. He always gave Q&A. When he came out to theology of time and things, he gave a Q&A. People would ask questions. He would answer those questions. Farrakhan never does it. He never does that. Hope this sound is not really causing a problem because I'm not sure why I'm having this issue. A couple of things here. Maybe I'm doing something I'm doing here. A couple of devices here. No, get this type of. Hold on a second, with you 1 second. Another one here. That's it. Should we get an echo like that? No, that's still not doing it. Okay, well. Everything is off here, right? Okay. Hopefully it comes out okay. So, brothers and sisters, as I was saying, the war, this is the war that ignites Armageddon. Armageddon is not going to be ignited by this Ukraine-Russian thing. This falls in the category of wars and rumors of wars. But they get excited and we're nervous about it. And in Farrakhan is usually, he just reports we're here on CNN. He's jumping to in the ring. And they say, well, it's going to ignite world Armageddon. It's going to spread. He's going to be crucified and stuff. He has no idea what he's talking about. And he's about to be taken down. And these prophecies he's making, I said, prophesy, please prophesy, continue prophesying. Because he's a liar. He has no idea what he's talking about. And we're going to see in a minute. It's not happening that way. I'm sure how it's going to happen. So both of us on the line. Both of us on the line here. Well, who's telling the truth, who's lying? We already know he's a liar. Like COVID. 7 months in, he speaks about it. We didn't see it coming. 1619, 2019, the plague that would kill firstborn, 2020, exactly on time, like it says. Prophesied 4,000 years ago, happened on time exactly. And he claimed he studied his life. Muhammad should have got that one. It's easy. 1619, 2019, Exodus. That proved that we're the truth of Abraham. And the people that understand that, they knew that. That's why they had to put the kibosh on it. Or they dropped like flies, see, because they couldn't let people know it's passing over us. That been too clear. It was not paid, didn't pass over false Israel, but they got the worst of it. It passed over them. They're trying to say it happened in the past, which is a lie. But we're going to move on, brothers and sisters, but I want to focus on this. Okay, we're going to start off here, right? It's all about Iran versus U.S. U.S. is God. No, I'm not going to. It's God. They're trying to tell you God is Russia. That's another lie. Okay, let's go. Let's look at it. That white horse, we're talking about the 7 seals, right? And the white horse, that represents Obama. I know some people have a problem with that. I don't care. Right? Horse represents Obama. Going for the conquer and to conquer. It means to make 2 conquests. President of the United States, person. Then he's going to be a leader. He's going to be the sole leader of a non-Islamic African coalition pretty soon. It'll happen very soon. So remember I told you in advance. But when you study him, when you watch the fourth seal, you look at the 4th seal, right? Then you realize and you understand the angel, because if you have the angel seal, and you have to break the seals to understand what it's talking about. And all of you just talking, angel, are you liars because you don't know what it's talking about. Unless you can say you broke the seals. Because if you have broke the seals, you claim you know what he's talking about, it means you're calling God himself a liar. Because the people that wrote the scripture said, you will not understand it unless you broke the seals. So you have to break the seals, you need to shut the F up because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. So you people, oh man, this drag, they have no idea. And they're confused. So You don't know what you're talking about. I've broken seals and prove it. Anyway, when you understand it, when you read the fourth seal, there's an African that's leading a European country. That's one of the ways to identify Obama. He's all over the scriptures, really he is. You know, he's Belteshazzar. You know, he's not Belteshazzar. Daniel's Belteshazzar. He's Belteshazzar. He's a lot of places, but you don't recognize him. But anyway, that's what he is. Like, that's the first horse. Okay, that's the white horse. Move on. So the reason why that's important in the context we're talking about is he's the one that said the JCPOA. And that speaks to the witnesses. The JCPOA put Iran under the foot of the nations, like I said, the witnesses. Because now UN represents the nations, and he's under their control. Iran's under their control. That's the JCPOA. They put Iran under the control of the UN. That's why I said they've been the foot of the nations. See? Now we're going for, that's how long it goes on. It goes on 215 to 211. I mean, from 211, excuse me, it starts 215. And it goes on for 3.5 years until 3.5 years, talked about, right? 3 days and a half, 3.5 years until it happens right on time, like they said. But it was established in 2015. But it was, we talk about that in a minute, but it was annulled in 2018 in 6 months, which is 3.5 years, just like it says. That's JCOP. That's why we're talking about Obama is concerned, because he's the one that set it up. He's the one on the white horse. Okay? He set it up. And during 2011, and during this time while he was president, he also attacked Syria. That's important, what we're going to talk about. Those two things are important. He starts the war with Syria. He also starts JCPOA. So he starts the war in Syria in 2011, and he sets up the JCPOA. He signs the JCPOA 2015. Then in 2018, in approximately 6 months, Trump ends the JCPOA. So it went about 3.5 years, just like it says in the chapter 11. And he continues his attack on Syria. Continues it. Right? That all together goes from March to 11, 2020. When the plague initiates in 2020. And I said that's the start of solve this sound problem, brothers and sisters. Not sure why it's doing that. Why it's doing it. No reason why I should be doing it. No reason why I should be doing it. Let me look at it. Hold on, brothers and sisters. Now this is 2, 3, 1, 2. That's good. It should be. Not sure why it's doing it. There's something else here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Try now. Okay. Sounds a little better, I think. Let's see. Okay. So the Syria attack, right? 2011. going on to brings up to 220, we passed 220 now. It says continue to track his until the end of his term. Okay, that's Trump, Mr. Trump. Okay, let's move on. Okay, once the JCPOA is nulled, Iran passed for war because he knows they're under attack. He knows that's what's coming. They know that's what's coming next. So they prepare. They start enriching uranium at a quicker pace. Still no good. They start enriching uranium at a quicker pace. Start enriching uranium at a quicker pace. They know what's coming. And false Israel, Antichrist, and America has already announced. False Israel has already announced that they're going to attack Iran. They announced it publicly. They allocated $2 billion just for that purpose. So Iran is preparing for war. 2018, right? When they annul the JCPOA, 2022, where we are right now. I'm just trying to walk through this slow. You see what I'm talking. You see where I'm going. So we're going to talk about the silence now. Remember, this book is under seals. You have to break the seals to understand what we talk about. It says, whenever you open the seal of 7, remember we're talking about the 7 seals. It carries silence in heaven as half an hour, which is 6 months. Hours represents about a year there. Okay, I'm gonna have to do something else with the sound. Hold on, bosses. Not good. Somebody's interfering with it. I've had this problem before. See how that works. Okay, that sounds better. However, it's going to be lower. You'll have to just work with it. A little louder. Okay, bros, I'm just going to have to speak a little louder, I think. Okay, whenever you open the seal of 7, occurs silence in heaven as half an hour. Whenever you open the seal of 7, occurs silence in heaven as half an hour. Now, nobody knows what that means. I'm explaining what it means. Half an hour, I'm going to show you what it means here. So what's that silence? People are guessing. Keep that in mind. We're still talking about the 7 seals. We already talked about the first one. Now we're talking about the 7th one. And why are we jumping around like that? Let's see. Now, when you read chapter 11, no, well, we're going when you get to the 5th seal, in other words, remember I showed you at the top that I said, I'm not going to read out. If you read the first seal, it says, I heard. Second seal, I heard. The third seal, I heard. In other words, fourth seal, I heard. All of them say I heard something. But when you get the 5th seal, he hears nothing. He hears nothing on the 5th seal. On the 6th seal, you think you don't hear anything, but you have to look at the next paragraph. That's the only seal that goes over to another paragraph. To hear something in that part of it. Because that part, when they take and says that he's sealing the tribes, right? He said, do not do anything till I seal, right, the elect. right? So in that part, that's part of the sixth seal, he hears something. So the only one that don't hear anything is the fifth seal. That's the silence. That's the silence. We're going to explain that in a minute. Now you see right here, I'm showing this where it's blinking. When they was under jet, we're going to show it in a minute. I'm going to show you in a minute when we go further into this. The reason I'm showing this right here is because we see, in other words, when they were under the foot of the nations, they was at the bottom. It was at the bottom, right? It was at the bottom of all the nations. But then they started moving up because they're preparing for war against America and Britain and false Israel. So they're moving up now. And I'm not sure if you can understand that, but they're moving up. So they're in that position, they're covering them. But the reason I'm showing that right there, because when I'm going to say something in a minute, it says, because remember, the European nations, they represent the white. The Orientals represent the yellow, the Asians represent the brown, right? They represent the white. So they're moving up. So it says they was given white robes. That's what it means right now, because they're moving up and they've been covered by those two, Russia and EU. That might be difficult for you to understand, but that's what that means. We move on. And each was given white robes. So we'll see that in a minute. Okay. So now, see, we right now, remember, from 2018 and a half, it'll be 3.5 years, right, until it says that the witnesses, right, said the Spirit of God came into them. There's two parts there. The Spirit of God came into them, of the God. So you got to be careful what God is talking about. And then it stood upon their feet. So there's two actions take place there. But this is the only one where it's telling you how long it takes to get somewhere. All the other ones tell you, like, they will be witnessing for 42 years, right? They would be under, they'll be there to 1990. Then they'd be attacked for 24 years, right? They'd be in that position. And then they'd be on the foot of the nations, right? For 42 months, for 3.5 years. You understand what I'm saying? That's how long they're in there. But in this case, it says after 3.5 years, right? The Spirit of God came. So they're moving. That's moving. That's that. I'm not going to try to break the angel down here, right? But that's the wind they're talking about. This wind that they're going to talk about in a minute. So it says the JCPOA, and during this time, the JCPOA talks to start. And I told everybody when they got rid of JCPOA, I said Iran and Syria, Iran is not going back to it. I don't delete my archives. Go out to YouTube, it's out there, right? Explain that. I said they're not going. This was over 3 years when Trump was president. I said they're not going back to JCPOA. They're not going back to it. They have it. Because it's going to be war. And they already telling America says if they don't go back to it, it's going to be war. It's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Well, Israel says it's going to be war even if they go back to it. Because they said they don't believe, they don't like that agreement. And they're going to be war either way. So, and they make it public. Both of them said public statements. So they're telling Iran, if you don't go back to JCPOA, you're going to be under attack. That's America. So it's a public statement. As far as Israel saying, we don't care, we're going to attack you anyway. See? So it says, false Israel prepares to attack Iran during this period of time. See, this is, we in that period right now, the period of silence. Because Trump, remember, 3.5 years, Trump, when the wind blows, they're moving up to that position. And they get in that position, I just told you about, it takes them 3.5 years to get there. They get in this position right here, because it was down here. They get in a position right here, 3.5 years, which would take them from 2018, 6 months, to 2022, where we are right now. And then the silence would occur. We're going to see that in a minute. So we're in that period right now. See? The period of silence. So at the beginning of 2022, right? Be 6 months, probably 6 months. Because it says about half an hour, so it means it's somewhere around 6 months. It could be 5 months, 6 months, 7 months. We don't know because only one knows the Master Prophet Muhammad, because it says no one knows with him the exact day and hour. But this gives you the time, so they wouldn't give you this for nothing, right? So the JCP talks to stall, to install. False Israel repairs attack around that. They made a public statement this year. That's what they're going to do. See? That would take you, 6 months would take you approximately from the beginning of this year to June. Remember, it says about. That means it's somewhere around in there. It might be May, it could be June, it could be July. Right? There's silence. Read it for yourself. Right? Okay, so let's go to the next one. Now here we go. This is the fifth seal. When you open the fifth seal, I saw underneath of the altar the having been slaughtered through the word of God and through the witnesses which they were having. See? So they're the witnesses. They're two witnesses. Syria and Iran are two witnesses. They've been attacked because of witnesses. So they're under the altar now. And they cry with voice great, saying, until when you, they talk to Master Muhammad now, holy and true, not, why are you not judging? When are you going to start judging and avenge the blood of us out of those that have upon earth? Now, again, you understand the angel, because earth represents the European countries, right? And was giving them each white robe. Remember I said, now they've been in that position, because the European countries represent the white nation, so they give them white robes. They're in that position now. And we told them they should wait, rest for a little while, right? Until the rest of them was being, so here they talk, this is really, they're talking, this is Iran and Syria, but they're talking to Iran, but they tell them they got to wait until Syria, their brethren, suffer the same thing they suffered, because Iran suffered an 8-year war attacked by Iraq that was supported by America and Britain and false Israel. So they told you, now you got to go through the same thing. That's what this fifth seal is all about. So that's what it's talking about. Syria, it's telling the Syrians, you got to wait until that. So wait for what? That's, see? Remember, because this time they're not saying anything. It's quiet. So you got to wait the extra 6 months. See? They're saying, so no, you got to wait. That's the quiet, silence. You got to wait. See? Now, we're going to have to argue about this, because we ain't talking about 10, 20 years from now, 5 years from, like with Farrakhan, talking about, one day we're going to run America, right? What, 5 years from now, whatever? No, we're talking about pretty soon, like a couple of days, a couple of months at most, sometime this year. That's what prophets do. That's not going to happen 10,000 years from now, and you don't know if it's going to happen or not. So when Jesus did that, he gave a book that was prophesied was going to happen during this period of time. Because that book covers this period of time. But he gave it the angel revelations, and he didn't tell you what that says, because those prophecies would not be revealed until the Lamb came and broke the seals, because they weren't relevant 2,000 years ago. They're relevant now. And then what happens? And then the sixth seal. When you open the sixth seal, right? A great, hold on for a second, bro. I guess right. Great shaking occurred. A great shaking occurred. Now, see, what do they mean by that? See, they tell you earthquake, that's a bad translation. That's not an earthquake. That's war. That's war. See, the war will start right after that silence, because that's sixth seal, remember? Because the silence is over. That's why it's the end of silence. The silence is over, right? Because it only occurred during the fifth seal, and sixth seal is right after that. So silence is over. So then the war occurred, and the sun became black. So you need to understand, angel, understand all of that, right? But it says that the Europeans was planning something. Because when you go back and look at this, and we're going to show this in a minute, you got false Israel, who's recognized as supposed to be the fig tree. The figs was cast before they was ripe. That means they had some plan, but they was planning to do something. In other words, the bottom line is, remember I said it was planned to attack Iran? And before they could do it, Master Muhammad goes into action, and he attacks them first. That's why it says, Michael's angels, war broke out in heaven, and Michael's angels fought against the dragon and his angels, and they fought back. So Master Muhammad starts the war, and they start before they're ready because they're planning that war right now. But before they can get position to execute it, he attacks them first. And we're talking about within days. We're talking about this year. No doubt about it. We're talking about within days. Right? Within days. Within the next couple of months. That's my understanding. That's my interpretation. So we'll see if I broke the seals or not. What's Farrakhan going to say about it? He doesn't know anything. I mean, he doesn't speak to this. He's speaking very general terms like, watch the weather. Thank you. So join unright figs because their plans preempted. And then you saw these things happen here. See? That's 6th seal. So what we see is, and then you see the 2nd seal, 3rd seal, and the 4th seal. That's when they take place after this. So the sequence is the 1st seal. That's when Obama initiates JCPOA. Then the 5th seal, 5th, that's the war going on in Syria, right? And everybody preparing for war, right? And then the 6th seal, after the silence is over, that 6-month period. And then the 6th seal releases the 1st, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Because that second one is very critical to understand an angel because it's part of the key. Because the second one, the second horse is not one of the regular horses. It's a special horse, which is actually one of the winds. But I can't talk about that right now because it's been another 2 or 3 hours explaining that to you. But that's the key to understanding this. Once you understand the angel, those who study the angel understand what I'm talking about here. So see what I said? They was on the foot of the nations here. That's what I meant. They was on the foot of the nations here. They was under. They was under. So when this was the position they was in, they was under control of the UN. See? So that means that's what I said. Witness on the foot of the nations, 42 months or 3.5 years. So the JCPOA ends, then its position. Then, remember I said, the Europeans comes representing white robes, so now they're in position. That's why it says, wait. And they're in position right now. You got to wait. Once they're in the position here, let's see how long it took them to get in that position. It took 3.5 years to get in that position. See what it says, right? It says it took 3.5 years before the Spirit of God came into them. So that means that position. I'm not going to explain the Spirit of God, that kind of stuff here, right? But those who study angel understand what I'm talking about because you will see it there, but I'm not sure on the whole key. So that means they're in position. It took them 3.5 years to get in that position, and then they have to hold for 6 months once they get in that position. So 3.5 years from 2018, that puts you at 2022. That's 3.5 years. And then they've been in the hold position, in wait position, but Syria is still under attack. Syria is still under attack. And wait for 6 months. That's where they are right now. We're in 2022. But now, the 6 months is virtually over. We don't know. It says about. That means it could be 5 months, could be 6 months, could be 7 months, somewhere in that area. But we know we're in the period, in that general period of time. Okay? Then the war takes place. See? That's when the war breaks out in heaven. And they're kicked out. The dragon and his angels, I'm not showing the dragon here. Dragon's angels, his angels are Gog, Magog, and Antichrist. That's America, Britain, false Israel. They're kicked out because they had the main position in the Middle East. Now Iran Syria has defeated them, and they have control of the Middle East, all of it. All of it. America, Britain is kicked out. False Israel is under siege. That's the abomination of desolation. Because 7 see, Jerusalem surrounded by armies, its destruction is near. That means who controls Jerusalem? Jerusalem is the capital of what? That's just everything you need right there. That means they're going to be destroyed. That's what it says. That verse says, we see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, His destruction is near. So that means they're going to be destroyed. That tells that verse right there, tell you they're false. Because if they were the true seed of Abraham, once they return, they cannot be destroyed. That's what the prophecy says. That prophecy right there tells you that, but they don't talk about that one. So we said the war starts sometime between 5, it's May and July this year. That's approximate. That's what I come up with. That's my calculation. Again, that's why Hunt makes a final call. I mean, when you the final judgment, because you think I'm talking about Farrakhan's rag, right? Not even worse, taller paper. So I'm just telling you. I'm telling you now because I know it's about to happen. I told you we close and close. What's the point of telling you after it happens? So when it does happen, Ishmael and Farrakhan didn't see it, and he's alive because he says all this is going to happen in Europe. And you keep saying, if a prophet says something and don't come to pass, you shouldn't listen to him anymore. Are you still be listening to Farrakhan? I put my life on this one. Hold on, brothers and sisters. So now, this chapter 18, Babylon's cast down. And they kicked out of the Middle East, and Britain, right, cast to the sea. Read chapter 18. Babylon's cast down, Britain's cast to the sea. I don't know if I can show it. Let me back up here. No, I'm not. I'm not showing that. No, I'm not showing that stuff. I wanted to give you some idea what they mean by the sea. That's what it means. So that happens, right? I missed something here. Let me back up, brothers and sisters. I missed something here. I didn't mess it up. I forget that. I think I forgot something about. I really want to show the graphic to explain it. Let me back up here. Okay, yeah. You see here, remember during this time when it ran, right, in Syria, right, when they rose up now, during this period of time, right, silence takes place. But I've been telling you for years, right, about the division. And we got the presentation to prove it, right? And I explain what it says. He says, I come with division, I bring about division. A mother be against daughter, father against son, mother against daughter-in-law. So while we're here, let's turn about the Spirit. Remember I said, it says that the Spirit of God, the God that came to them. Well, this daughter-in-law right here, that's one of the 4 spirits of the 4 horsemen. They also call spirits. So that's why it says the Spirit of God came to them, because now it's right here where the Spirit of God is. That's also called where mother-in-law is, but that's one of the demons. You got it, you don't, you don't. It's not my intention to be really teaching the angel here. But I said, and this, go back, I've been saying for years, I didn't delete my archives. I identified the mother as being America, the daughter as being Russia, the father as being Britain, and the son as being the EU, and daughter-in-law be the demons. That's the Christian blacksmith country. Christian blacksmith country. You notice right now they're getting all riled up by this about this abortion thing. That this going to get a lot worse. Oh, that's going to get a whole lot worse. I just pointed out to you, but I'm not going to deal with that right here. But I said America be against Russia. Ain't that what's happening right now? I said this was years before they even had Brexit. I said I got them going back years. I said Britain's going to be against you. That happened. Brexit. They broke away from the EU. And now America is at conflict with Russia. See? And it's really with this Ukraine thing. And that part would take place during this so-called silence period. 6 months, and they attack this year. Well, this is out there. I have a presentation just talk about the division: the mother against daughter, father against son, and mother against daughter-in-law, mother-in-law against daughter-in-law. So you can't tell me I'm making up stuff. I'm reporting CNN. The presentation's out there. Go out to YouTube, right? And you can find. Somebody said I got 200 or 300 presentations out there. So I talked several presentations about this one, about mother against daughter, father against son. Identifying. I said America be against Russia. And the first one I put out was years before this so-called Brexit. I talked about one recently this year. In fact, I did one a couple of weeks ago, explaining about that. Mother, that was like the reaffirmation, like I'm telling you right now, that I talked about it. But I put out one about a year or so ago, talked about America be against Russia. That's going to be part of. We're going to talk about that in a minute, right? We'll talk about that in a minute. So, okay, we talk about this. There's silence. If you understood, if you studied the angel, this would be, you'd understand it because it's beautiful. If you understand the angel, it's going to be difficult for you, brothers, as I tell you. Angels, your new mind. Now you said your mind has returned to you. But they've corrupted your mind. They returned your Negro butts. They got you believing anything they tell you. Like that, I don't know if you heard that video I put at the top. He's saying Christianity is greatest force for human rights in the world. Really? Ask the Native American Indians about that. Ask the Aborigines in Australia about that. Ask the people in China, Canada about that. Ask about us over here 400 years on the Holocaust. Who is doing that? The Muslims, the Hindus, the Buddhists. It was the Christians. Man, it's a stupid damn liar. And but they desperate to cover up. Like a dog, putting dirt on his shit. They do it, but it's not going to work. See? Because they're in judgment now, and their judgment's going to be awful. Awful. Tucker Carlson, he's one of the biggest stars they got on Fox. The biggest audience. Because that's what they want to hear. They want to hear this garbage. They're desperate to hear it. So here you see, like I said, America falls, UK is thrown into the sea. That means they're going to be at war with China and North Korea. But they in America be at war with them also. They're going to be taken down. They're going to be taken down first. See? So now we have false Israel isolated. Iran and Syria. It's going to be under siege, then taken. That's the abomination, desolation. So you see, that's what you say, because you see it's surrounded by armies. All these armies surrounding Jerusalem. When you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, its destruction is not. It's under siege. It's going to be so bad. It's not going to last one day. It's not going to last 1 week. It's going to last a while, long enough. They'll be so hungry, they're going to start eating each other. That's what it says. They're going to start eating each other. So what's that, a week, 2 weeks, whatever? I mean, it don't take long, because I don't know if you remember that thing back in Peru, where they had that plane crash 20 years ago, 15 years ago. That plane crashed on the mountains, right? They wasn't only about 2 or 3 miles of civilization. They didn't know it. And after 3 days, they start eating the dead. Don't take them long. Anyway, that's what happens. So now it means when Jerusalem surrounded by armies, it's destruction. So it's surrounded, it's under siege, it's going to be destroyed. That's the bombing, it's desolation. That's going to send shockwaves to the world. It's going to take and short circuit your programming, because they programmed you to be Negro butts 400 years ago. It took 64 years to do it, from 1555 and initially born here. That's the secret. Until 1619, it took 64 years to convert you from Kunta Kinte into Toby, to transform you to Negro butts, who are programmed, right, to self-destruct, to obey master, to not ask questions, do whatever you're told, no matter what. And then Negro butts program Negro butts. So in other words, they have to same thing your children. Don't ask no questions. Jesus said this, whatever. You train to do the same thing they taught you to do. And they stamp you with stamp you to make sure that everybody knows you're a Negro, but see, because they named you Amos Richardson. See, because that wasn't a name, that was a stamp, certified that you're a Negro, but see, they took New Kunti from you, made you Toby, and you walk around. Those weren't names; they were certification, they was brands. Because if you was Amos Richardson, and they sold you to Master Blackstone, you became Amos Blackstone. That was not your names, not original names. But now you walk around proud because you're still Negro. But because that's you, because as long as you keep that name, they know they still own you. As long as you keep that name, they still know they still got you programmed. That's one indications that you still programmed. That's one indication that you still programmed, that you can walk around with their names. Because the names you have is representative of the last slave master that you was owned by. And you walk around proud of those names. Now, if you're a demon, you one of their raped children, right? The result of one of their rapes, then yeah, that is your name because that's your father. Master's your father. See, so you're a demon, you one of them. Just look like us. So you're a terror butt. Because that's why they produce you, so you could be the wolves and sheep clothing around us, the chaff among the wheat, to terrorize us, to cause confusion and fear. That's what's going on in Chicago. Those are not our people. Those are your people in black skin. Terror butts. Anyway, I'm going to move on from here. So that's what's going on right here. See? And this is what triggers Armageddon. Not what's going on over there. We're going to talk about that in a second. And not what's going on in Ukraine, but that comes under wars and rumors of wars. Here it is. Then the seventh angel, having the seventh trumpet, paired themselves up, or they might trumpet. This kicks off. Because after they're kicked out, well, okay, I left it there. Let me go and explain this. After they're kicked out, let me skip back here. Do I need to? Oh, let me see. Let me see what I got here. Yes, 4 wins. I'm not going to talk about that right now. Back here. Oops, not going like I wanted to go. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm still have to do it a different way. Okay, yes. Okay, I'm gonna leave it pretty much there. I'm just going to try to explain a few things. It says Michael. Now we understand. They don't tell who Michael is. I think when one speaks to Michael is no witness, and they think he's Jesus. That's wrong. Michael's the one that delivers us. But Farrakhan said we ain't going anywhere, so why do we need to deliver? If Michael's not Master Prophet Muhammad, for you Elijah Muhammad people, then that means we have two deliverers then. So who's Michael then? Obviously, he's Master Prophet Muhammad. He delivers us. He's the one that goes to war with the dragon. Defeats them. He takes down false Israel. So it says he will go to war with the dragon and his angels. Michael's angels are the Shiva, are the Shia. Ran and Shia. They're the two witnesses. Farrakhan trying to two witnesses, Elijah Muhammad. he takes them down, right? Okay, that causes abomination desolation because that wasn't expected. They telling you that they you see Abraham, all that kind of stuff, all these lies. I'm not going to it right here. All those kind of things. It's going to send shockwaves to the world. It's going to short circuit your program. It's going to wake you up. At that time, our nation comes together. So, well, nation be born in the day. That's not nation coming together. But it's coming together under great fear, because it's that fear that's going to result from abomination desolation. That shockwaves go, because these people are going to turn against you in a heartbeat, because they understand what's going on. They don't want you to understand what's going on. And once the lie that false Israel ain't the truth, the lie that false Israel is false, and that you are true to Abraham, when that's discovered, that turns everything on its head, because that means this is not the promised land. They're evil people. They committed genocide. That we're not Ham, born to be slaves. That we're actually God's chosen people. They've been persecuting on the Holocaust, right? So that means they're devils. They're evil, and God is attacking all this hell. Because at this time, remember, during this time, they also at war in Europe, and they get their ass kicked over there. See, so all this stuff happening there, and the weather's going insane. Explain all these things. So now they realize it's all because of you. Because the whole thing about these plagues, if you read, it's first always taking place. The other 9 is the War of Armageddon. That's a European. And it says they were designed to force them to make you leave. See? So in other words, the focus of those plagues is us. And the purpose of it is to get us out of here, force us to leave out of here. And so they're going to realize that we are the focus of those plagues. We're the cause of it. That's why it's suffering, because of us. And they're going to try to attack us. See, you're going to be under very great fear. I would say you flee. So when you see it, flee, because they're going to attack you. You'll be under great fear, and that's when the nation will come together. Because when you're under fear, your heart knows fear, your mind does no fear. So you ain't paying attention to your mind now, because as a Negro butt, you was told to stay in the heart zone. That's why church and stuff, you go there, you don't learn anything. It's all about music and spirit and running and all this kind of stuff. It's nothing about learning anything, about figuring out what's going on. It's nothing about that. So it's just like a deer caught in the headlights. You don't know what to do. It's hard trying to communicate the brain. What do? If the brain don't know, it's just steady and get run over. That's our purpose, to put that knowledge there. Whether you reject it or what, you still have it. So when that happens, you know what to do. Because then you're going to see all this come into play. That great fear is going to cause you to connect with your mind that you haven't, that you're not doing. They tell you don't do it, don't ask no questions. Jesus said this, whatever. Preacher said this, don't ask any questions, anything. Because once you start asking questions, you start becoming deprogrammed. And that's when the terror butts, the demons, black-faced devils, right? See, skin folk, he's up on you, find what's going on with you, man? Why are you acting like that? See, get you back online, reprogram you. They can't deactivate you. Is there people doing this evil stuff on TV, acting like food, jelly rolls, and women naked, all that kind of stuff? That's their people doing it. But we take the hit because it look like us. That's why Africans don't want to have anything to do with you either. Because you make them look bad all over the world. Because you got their image, making the image look like food all over the world. What somebody went around and looked just like you, look exactly like you, and was going around doing all kinds of filthy things, right? You wouldn't like that. But people, every time I see, hey man, boy, you still doing that, man? You still rocking like that, man? And, you still doing it, Hey man, that ain't, see, you wouldn't like it. And that's what's happening. That's their purpose. I'm not going into details about that, but that's their purpose. And they tear up us to keep fear in us, and also to keep us looking bad and everything else. See? And that's what it says. When the first thing Suleiman would do, or the Christ or Joshua, or whatever you want to call him, is to get rid of him. That read Mark. Because he identifies them, said at the harvest time, they would be eliminated. Elijah was told to speak to both of them. He said, no, because he told him, he says, man, somebody sowed this chaff amongst the wheat. And he was told, no, don't do anything, because you can't do it. Let them go ahead and be together. At the harvest time, right, Suleiman will be able to separate them out and throw them into the fire. So what's happened? So our people come together. All the time, remember, the weather's going crazy here. A reason I've explained before, right? And you already see what's going on right now. The food shortage and everything. You see, don't you have an idea of what's going on? They think, oh, it's going to explode over. No, they tell me it's getting worse. Famines is already in America. You're going to be eating each other in a few more days. Scripture said you're going to be eating each other. You're going to be eating your own children. By this time, 6 months from now, I don't think there'd be a dog in America. Some of you probably eat your children before you eat your dog. All this is going on. People coming together, then we separate the demons out. See? And they're going to go back to war with mass. It's going to be a terrible war between them. See, that's the locust 5 months after the last 5 months. What I'm getting at is that it says, Master Muhammad, if you understand him, he's the one that goes war with the dragon. Who's the dragon? Dragon is House of Sod. I told you years ago that they were going to ally themselves with America and false Israel and everything else. Like, oh man, you're crazy. What's going on right now? The Abraham Accords and everything else. They got ambassadors sharing everything. I'm telling you years ago, Farrakhan tells us because he get paid off by them to keep us from talking about Abraham covenant because they set on our land. We Isaac. That's our land. So he's paying them to tell them, stop talking that stuff. Because they betrayed us. That's another story altogether. Into slavery. Read the story of Joseph. So, now, I'm trying to give you a scenario here. Let's try to look at it another way. America and Britain just got kicked out of the Middle East. Now, see, if I go this, well, we've been 2 or 3 hours here. Think about a couple of things. He says, men's hearts will be failing for fear of those things coming upon the earth. Remember, so the angel tells you earth represents European countries, right? See? Because, I mean, if you look at like you want to look at it, then it doesn't make any sense. Because men's hearts be failing for fear of those things come earth, because the powers of heaven be shaken. Now, if you want to look at it your way, the earth represents the whole planet, and the heavens out this place, then how would people be feared what's happening in heaven? They can't see it. They can't touch. They can't go anywhere near it. So how would they know the powers of heaven is being shaken? How would they be in fear of that when they only know about it? When they can't see it, they can't touch it. It's way beyond their comprehension, way behind their perception. Because this happens in the Middle East, like I told you. And so that they see when America and Britain is kicked out of there and false Israel taken down, they say hearts be filled with fear of those things coming upon the earth, because they know now the hell is coming upon the earth. Because now they know it's clear. All things clear now. Scripture's clear now. It's focused. Plus you got somebody explain all this stuff. You got a bullhorn explain all this. Said this truth would be, this gospel speaks to all the world and it will come. So there's somebody explaining all this very clearly. See? So that's what it's talking about. See? So because that speaks about what goes on, the abomination desolation. So now, America and Britain is kicked out. Now, we're talking about in a few days. We're talking about years from now. We're talking about this year, sometime this year, a few days. It could happen today or tomorrow, because based on my calculation, right, it should happen sometime between now and July, right? But we see if my calculation is correct or not. Okay, so they're kicked out. Remember I said that it what ignites Armageddon. Armageddon is a European war. It's like World War III or World War II. See, World War II is a European war, with the exception of Japan, right? Because the Pearl Harbor thing, right? But it was primarily, until that point, it was a European war. Armageddon is a European war, and those 9 plagues are about that war, right? So, and I also taught about how it's about energy and fuel, because that's what chapter 18 says. It says the first thing happens is, when Babylon falls, the first thing happens is that your economy collapses. They're not talking about American economy, they're talking about American economy. See, so put it together. Okay, where does China, where does Britain, where does Germany and France and everything primary source of oil? From Russia and from the Middle East. But they was helping America in their fight against Iran, and so now the spigot is cut off. So their only source of oil is Russia. See how it's falling into place? The only source of oil is Russia. But they're trying to isolate Russia. America's trying to keep Russia being able to sell oil. That's another story altogether about how they're trying to get rid of the story. Anyway, so now they control the Middle East. They cut the oil. They have total control of it. They covered all. False Israel is under siege, about to be taken down, right? America's over here in war with Russia. Part of the reason why they're in war with Russia because when they fell, you understand? Part of the reason is they're gonna blame Russia before they're. Because people say, how you lose? How you lose against Iran? But they can't tell the people over here about those wheels and things that was flying around that they took out the Air Force. They can't tell them about that. So they blame Russia. But Russia will be part of it. That because think what's going on right now. America's helping Ukraine with all kinds of weapons support to go against them against Russia. Right? America's helping Ukraine. You see how this stuff's coming together, brothers and sisters? America's helping, giving Ukraine all this military support and everything else to fight against Russia. So when America goes to war with Iran, which is Russia's ally, and Russia's going to return the favor. They're going to help Iran defeat America. Matter of fact, Muhammad's going to be the primary reason, but Russia's going to be on the side of Iran. And so that's going to be easy for them to blame Russia for their destruction. But tell them, Russia did it. That's how they get into war with Russia over immediately. Immediately kick out, they get into war with Russia. Now, European economy collapses. That's the EU, Germany, France, all the economy collapsed because they can't get it all from the Middle East and they can't get enough from Russia because they're supposed to be allied with America. And so Russia cuts them off. So they totally collapse. So they can't recover unless they get oil from America. It's the only place they can get it from. But America cannot supply it. They refuse to supply it because now they're at war, a full-blown war with Russia. Not only that, but even if they could, if they would supply, they couldn't do it fast enough because the only way they can't ship by plane, they have ship by boat. It would take too long, and people be winter, and it be, whatever the weather is, the weather's bad. Whether is good or bad, people be starving and carrying over. They have no fuel, anything. But they don't have too much reserves, so therefore they couldn't get to them fast enough. And if they got to it, they could have continuous supply. And what will stop Russia from interrupting that? Because that's what they're doing to Russia right now. You see, put the piece together. So now, only way Europe, because it says America when Babylon falls, it says it's going to. And all that stuff coming to it. Read chapter 18, then it finally be burned down in fire. Also says that in Malachi. It says in many places. But Pharaoh said we're gonna stay here. So I guess you want to be roasty toasties if you're gonna stay here. He just all you gotta do is read that stuff. That's when I want you to read it, because you see it's supposed to be a big liar. How in the hell we gonna even the message of the black, even all America tell you see the whole America in the flames. He said we ain't going nowhere. So the only people that follow him is demons, hypocrites, liars, and just plain idiots. Because they don't read any of this stuff. The demons have no choice because he's a chief demon. Louis Eugene Grounds NOI backwards. That's his real name. He argued about the G part or it's Walcott. But you can't argue about the LE. You can't argue about turning NOI backwards. So you understand the scenario here? So the only way, because Europe is gonna blame America for all this trouble anyway. The only way they can get out of that is they have to turn spigot back on from Russia, which they do. So that means they ally Russia because it says America's all your lovers going to abandon you. They're going to betray you. So now America's in a bind. They're in a trap. They're trapped between Russia and their former NATO partners. They're all going to turn on America. They're all going to turn on America. So America's a full-blown war out there. Remember I said mother against daughter-in-law? I said daughter-in-law is the Christian. You already see that's already happening because they're already getting upset about this Roe v. Wade thing. You always see trouble going at Black Lives Matter, all that kind of stuff. That's these black Christians. That's the demons they're talking about. And they get more fired up against America, more and more fired up. See? And so by that time, remember I said once the evangelical community is going to attack because now they know we true Abraham and we the cause of all the misery that's happening to them. So they only got two choices, right? Well, they got to get rid of us. They got another choice too, but the main get rid. And that says why you got to flee. You're not fleeing from the army. You're not fleeing from the police because they don't have time to get there. They say you ain't got time to do anything. You got time to go back and get your baby. So you got to flee. You can't go back in the house and get anything. That means your next door neighbor is the one that you got to flee from. Because the evangelical community, they're going to send out, it's going to be clear. Get them. I'm trying to get a scenario here. So you got panic going over here. Then the government is going to need you to go and help fight the war over there. So now the government's playing this double role here. They playing against the citizens. Say, well, look, you come, we protect you in concentration camps from the citizens trying to attack you, trying to kill you. All you got to do is help us fight this war. And a lot of you are going to go along with that. We can give you anything. We're going to give you reparations, everything when you come back. We're going to give you all this stuff. So a lot of you are going to go over there. You're going to tens of thousands, maybe millions of you are going to go over there and get your head blown off. But then you're going to have a full-blown war here, because after there's a war between the original people and the demons, those black-faced Caucasians, right? That pretend to be us. They will separate out. Then they're going to fight with us because they keep telling, man, y'all are same as us. No, you got to help, because they want us to help them fight the master. They say, hell with that. We don't want your violence. We want your problem. We want to hell out of here. So you got that big, so when that's what's in Mark, the book of Mark, right? So we cast them out from us. We don't want them. Master don't want them. They go to war with Master for 5 months. That's the locust war. And then you got a race war going in America too, because you got all these other people that's here in this country, right? They can't escape because America's at war. It's a full-blown world war. And so they're here, and then the Bible tells you if you caught outside your country, you'll be cut through. We got a full-blown war going here in America. And that time, that's when we'll be delivered. It's a time of unprecedented trouble. There won't be any food. You already see food shortage already. There won't be any food. There won't be any of that stuff. And the weather will be terrible. People are going to start eating each other. It says it's going to be so bad that a woman, that she's in labor, but she's going to do it in size. Now, I'm not a woman. I don't know. They said, I told her, I said, man, that's almost impossible. Said, that's what the Bible says. She's going to keep it silent because she wants to eat that baby that she delivers, and she don't even want her husband, anybody know anything about it. The Bible says. It's going to be terrible. And during this war, this 5 months war, right, between the demons, the Christian blacks, and Master, because Master don't want them. They're going to try to get along, try to make a deal, and Master don't want them. So they end up going to war. Full-blown civil war. It's not the race war, because they're the same race. One's got black complexion, one got white complexion. They're full war with each other. And they said they would be destroyed after 5 months. Says America would finally overcome it and destroy them. That story is Samson. That's another story altogether. But anyway, I'm trying to lay all this stuff out because so much stuff happening. It's so busy. So you got a world war going on. You got Europeans killing themselves, right? Because the house divided cannot stand. So the house divided, they fight against themselves. That gives rise to China and India. They start rising up. They become new superpowers. That's what said the dragon. Remember, the dragon represents the house of Sod. The reason why he's called the dragon because that's the reason why America, falls Israel, and Britain became world powers, because they kept feeding them cheap energy. They got the most energy, got the most power. The house of Sod, the one that did all that, and they did it. And you can check this out. They did it because guaranteed they would maintain the throne, which they're not even Arabs anyway. The Indians faking to be Arabs. That's no story altogether. So anyway. So you have all that going on. You got this European war, that's the war Armageddon going over there. So that's chapter 13. It says that the dragon gave his authority and power to the beast. But the beast had the same characteristics as the dragon. It had 7 heads and 10 horns, right? But the crown was on his horns. The horns represents China and India, right? That's the goat you see in Daniel. The leopard with the leopard with yellow spots. Yellow or brown spots, whatever, right? So the crowns represent authority. So the authority was first on the dragon. That means the European powers had authority, and they was a superpower, they had authority. But now the authority is transferring to the beast because Europeans are tearing themselves apart. So now that gives rise to China and India. They become the superpower during this period of time. See? And then it said the goat was angry at the ram. Who's the ram? America and Britain. Because that's 2 horns he had. Said the greater horn can't last. Said Britain was the first world empire. America was the second. There's only been 2 European world powers, America and Britain. That's that ram. So then, and said the goat, that's talking about China, they come at the ram and his feet does not touch land. That means he's coming over the water. He's coming from the west. His feet does not touch land. He's coming over the Pacific Ocean. That's China and India. They're coming, and India turns against America too. It says all your lovers going to turn against you. So now they're fighting all of Europe, Russia, China, Russia, France, Germany, they fighting all America, fighting all of them by themselves, right? Then they got chaos going here, insurrection right here in America. And now China, India has risen, and now they're coming across, and they coming across, they're about to embark. They will embark on the West Coast at the same time. That 5 months, when that 5 months is over, when the demons are destroyed. At that point, that's when they embark on the West Coast. Nobody's going to attack America. Okay, we'll see about that one. But we'll be going at that point in time. That's when Michael deliver us. I'm pressing trouble. They embark and said they're going to come in and they're going to, America's already going to be in dire straits. Already going to be famine, no food, all that kind of stuff. When they come in, going to be insurrection, all that stuff going on, because you can't have food delivery, all that kind of stuff when you got all that stuff going on. They come in and says they're going to attack. But primarily what they're going to do is they're going to lay siege to America for a while, make sure no commerce, no food, anything is transferred any place, because they want the people to starve. They want that. They want the people to starve. They want to see them eat them themselves and stuff. They're going to laugh at it. See? And then they finally take what's left, anybody that's healthy or whatever, the young ones, they're going to take them in captivity, just like it says in Revelations, right, or Injil. And then they're going to nuke the place. There's not going to be a nuclear war, but Americans will be nuked. Well, I thought you said, no, America, like I said, I explained it this way. If you're in a battle with somebody, both of you, slugging, that's a fight. But if you just doing a punch, another person just sitting there, that's a beat down. Americans will be beat down because they won't be able to defend themselves. And when it tries to, they tell you that these planes that mass from have that they can't keep up with, they say they round all their nuclear sites and then they disarm them. They neutralize, they can't use them. When America goes to pull that nuclear button, they think they got all this power, they're going to pull that trigger and pull blanks. It's not going to be a nuclear war. Master Muhammad is not going to let this planet be irradiated because we got a promised land. So he's going to give us a land that's irradiated. That's what's all the purpose, so it gets back home to promised land, land overflowing milk and honey. See? He's protected. So I can say this, because people say, we shouldn't say it. I can say it because it's Arabia. That's our land. It tells you, Abraham will come. That's where we return it to. And we're going to get them Shias, not Shia, but those Sunnis there, they'll get off that land because that's our land. They took it from us. See? But we covered it with sand 50,000 years ago to protect it. You understand where oil comes from? It comes from dead organic matter. And the reason why you got so much oil in Saudi Arabia, like most in the world, because that place should be lush with life. And plant life, animal life, over millions of years. That wasn't always a desert. But we covered it with sand so they wouldn't be able to corrupt it. So we go back, we blow the sand away. And the same thing that produces oil produces topsoil. That means you got topsoil maybe yards deep. That's why it'd be a land overflowing milk and honey. Because where the honey comes from bees pollinating plant life. And where milk comes from cows. It means plenty of beef, plenty of honey. Plenty of plant life and everything else. Be turned back to a paradise. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. So all this stuff is going on. Same time. And when they embark, they nuke America, burn all the way down the end of it. And then they take out Europe, then they're going to take out Europe. But Britain is already taken out. Britain will be the first one to go. That's Magog. Then Gog, and then the rest. That's Noah's flood. If you understand Angel, that comes Noah's flood. That's the end of it. No, that's not the end of it. There's the war of the latter days. See? And I talk about that one that in the beginning, that went conquering the conqueror, and he's control of non-Islam Africa. It says they go to war with China and India. They're all together. Because if you read chapter 17, let me say this quickly. It's talking about three beasts. They talk about one dragon and two beasts. All these have the same characteristics. 7 heads and 10 horns. They mean the same. It's just who has the power there. See, because one of them represents, one has 7 heads, all of them have 7 and 10 horns, but the Europeans, the dragon, he had the crowns on his heads. The other beasts that represent China and India, they had the crowns upon their horns. So the authority moved to them. And the other beast, he had no crowns at all. He was just long, he was with the beast, they had the crowns on his horns. That means the black African countries that's non-Islamic, they're going to be with China and India when they come and attack here. They'll all be together. And then they will get fighting with each other. After they took out Europe and everybody else, then they'll get fight together who's going to be the control. And it says, the non-Islamic African countries are going to be the victor. And they're going to have control. China, India, you know, they're going to be under his thumb. He's the emperor, whatever you want to call him. And then at that time, we in the Middle East, we have peace, no fence around us, everything. Master Muhammad is the God, right, in the Air Force, so to speak, right? And that's when they say we're going, all we got to do is take them out. We got the whole thing. That's the final war. That's the final one. That's not Armageddon. Armageddon's already take place. That's the last war of the apocalypse. That's called the War of the Latter Days. The final one. And that's what it says they got our numbers like 100 to 1, 1,000 to 1. But they got 200 million man army. Only India and China can produce an army that big. They're coming in, and you don't, people don't realize this, but if you look at Africa as independent countries, but if you look at Africa as a whole, they have more people, just as many people as India and China has. So then they come and attack. And it says it's going to take 6 months to bury the dead. That's the final war. Because it said these 10 kings will make war with the Lamb. So the Lamb, Joshua, he was read Exodus. He was the general on the ground. That's from Muhammad was the general in the sky. He was the Air Force. And Suleiman was charged of ground force. He went to war. And we outnumbered 10, 20, 100 to 1. And that's the final war. And it's all over. We're going to stand, brothers and sisters. I'm going to leave it there. A lot of stuff. So, hope you understand. If any questions, please contact us. People will be glad to answer any question you have. And we prove everything we say here. We have proof that we broke the seals. We explain it to you. You did not know what that stuff meant. We explain everything to you if you're interested. Right? Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. We're going to leave it there, but again, right? Don't forget the Holocaust. Never forget it. Never let them talk you into some BS. See? Slavery stuff. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. The Holocaust. Horror. 40 years of horror. They're trying to get you to forget. Here. Yeah. Yeah. The Holocaust. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum.